everyone, and welcome back to the Bliss Bakery, where you'll get your wholesome slice of life. I'm Rachel, and I'm the co-founder of Sonder Stories.
And I'm Tash, the other co-founder of Sonder Stories.
I'm thinking that we start with a quick recap on just how we know each other, because this episode is all about should you start a business with your friends?
Oh my
And
God, that's so
naturally
funny.
we're friends.
Yeah.
So how are we friends?
Well, funnily enough, we actually went to the same high school and we weren't friends in high school. And then I wanted to enter the OzTag world a few years later outside of high school. And I reached out to her, and then ever since, it's just been through OzTag and we've been friends since.
Since we are a podcast about wholesome things, I wanted to try something new with this opening and for us to share a recommendation for anything that we're loving lately that we would want listeners to try. So I can start. I've been watching a lot of One Piece, every type of format of One Piece, and that started from the live action on Netflix, which made me cry so much.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was so good. Like, I literally couldn't stop crying. I was so emotional. And then that got me back into reading One Piece and trying to catch up with it. So I'm on like chapter 1100 or something now. And then I decided to start rewatching the anime again. So I'm on like episode 300. And I'm doing all those three things at once.
Wait, so you have read it before and you're rereading it?
No, I've read it before, but I was not up to date. So I'm like trying to get back up to date.
Oh.
Yes. But it's not really like some niche thing for people to try. Like, it's a very popular anime.
Yeah.
But for those who haven't watched it yet, that is my recommendation.
Did you say like 1,000 chapters?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's a lot of chapters.
But it's so good.
Okay, maybe I should give it a shot.
What's your recommendation?
So my birthday was in February and me and a bunch of girls tried pottery.
So fun.
It is so fun. So I'm doing a 3-week course in Newtown at a place called Project Snail. And it's been so fun. I think it's really good for recovering perfectionists. You really learn how to be patient and how to feel your artwork, and everything you do, every movement changes it. So you learn how to be really still and focused and concentrated. And I think I need that in a world where there's just so much being thrown at you. So your focus is just on your piece of artwork. And it's so satisfying.
That is a wholesome activity.
It is. It's great. It's really
What
good.
is your goal? Like, what are you trying to make?
I actually don't know what I'm trying to make. Actually, I really want to make one of those lemon squeezes at the moment, but I don't think that's like on the pottery wheel. I don't think that's throwing. I think that's actually like molding it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you don't need the wheel for that. But I think for me, it'd be great to get to a point where I can just go to the studio and just make whatever I want. When I move out, my goal is to have all these bowls and plates made by me.
That would be awesome.
That'd be so
Yeah.
cool. It's just like a lot of character, and you can glaze it yourself, and yeah, it's fun.
That's so cute. Quick reminder before we get into things is for those who are listening along, and if this is your first time listening, remember to follow the podcast on Spotify if that's where you're listening to it on, and leave a rating for me because that would be super helpful. So thank you. All right. So today I have brought Tash on to talk about Sonder Stories and what it's like working on a business with a friend. There's a lot to dive in here, but let's just start with some background for our listeners in terms of just like, what is Sonder Stories and how did it all begin? Do you want me to start with my side?
Yeah.
Okay. I think it was like end of 2 years ago or maybe like beginning of last year.
Yeah.
It's actually been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while now you think
Yeah.
about it. Oh, time's flying.
I work in tech and I felt like I didn't have as much of a creative outlet as I had wanted. And so started just thinking about some ideas. And at the same time, I just gotten engaged and was thinking about like wedding planning as well. And so I thought it would be really awesome to be able to like put together a kind of zine for my wedding or for events that happen. And generally every year, actually, I don't know if you know this, I put together like a photo book. No, you've seen it at my house. Yeah. So like to sum up kind of my year and some of the key moments and just kind of like be more intentional with remembering what actually happened each year. So it feels like life is rich and it's not just flying by. Anyway, so we were at a dinner and I was kind of floating an idea in this space, and I was like, oh, it would be pretty cool if like for weddings you could have some kind of book and there would be a lot more design elements to it, and we would write like stories about the wedding and like put together the scans of the menus and the invitations and things like that. And there was a very positive reception. I think it was you and Lucy was there. And I felt like you were like really excited about the idea.
Yeah. And I think it's mostly because I love scrapbooking. I remember in primary school, you know, when you're year 6 and you're graduating, I don't know if you did this, but I had a book and you'd pass the book around and you'd scrapbook your profile in everyone's scrapbook. And I've always loved the process of scrapbooking and preserving memories. So that was just like, oh my God, I'd love that for myself. Like, why wouldn't you want to keep all the things that you've made and put all this hard work into in like a physical, you know, keepsake?
Yeah. And I feel like you're also someone who loves love and loves a story, because you're always good for a chat.
Yeah. Yes, it's so fun.
Yeah. So I felt like, I don't know, it was just an idea that was floated, went home, wasn't that serious about it. And then I was thinking, if we actually want to do this, maybe I should reach out to Tash and see if like she's keen, because I guess having someone else on the journey with you, one is like it makes you much more accountable to actually start and do something. But then you create also a sounding board for ideas and like for the idea to evolve.
Yeah, for sure. I remember when Rach kind of brought it to me, my biggest hesitancy was like, I've never done this before. Like, how are we going to get through this together? But in this day and age, there's so much content out there. You can just self-service your own knowledge and learning. So it didn't really scare me once I actually thought about it a bit further.
Yeah. And I think part of the enticing thing about it was that you would learn so much that you didn't know.
Yeah. And I feel like nowadays starting a business, like the barrier to entry isn't as great. Like you can really just start from anywhere. Like can be from your home, you can be on a bus and you can start, you can apply for your ABN, you can do anything nowadays. So having that limitation on yourself, it's just remove it. If you want to do something, just do it and see where it goes.
I think literally everyone has been able to just kind of start their own business. And we see that with a lot of our friends as well. They're all working on their passion projects or like side hustles. And yeah, I think it's very inspiring to be around these groups of people and feel like it is possible and easy to do the same thing.
100%. And I think partially it was because of COVID as well. I feel like a lot of people were bored or like they wanted to stretch themselves when we were all locked up at home. And yeah, like everyone just started their own thing. And I was like, oh, maybe it really isn't that hard. You just have to put a little bit of effort. And it's nice to have someone, like Rach said, to keep you accountable.
Yeah. Now, do you remember, so the first time we ever met up for Sonder Stories, it was in Genevieve's Coffee House in Erskineville.
That's right, yes.
Yeah. What do you remember about that?
Well, first of all, I remember I chose that place because I found it on TikTok and I was like, oh, it looks so warm and cozy. And I remember we shared a croissant, I think.
Or like a panini or something. Oh, it was so cozy there. It was such a vibe.
Very good. And I think it's still open. So if you ever want a place where you can like do a little bit of work, but if you like the way the cafe is laid out, it's really nice. But I don't think there's any Wi-Fi, so that's a spot.
Yeah. It was a bit slow as well, right?
A little bit slow, but it's okay. I think it's a really nice spot to do a catch up and to do a bit of quiet work. But what I remember was Rach must have messaged me beforehand, just giving me a heads up, like, oh, I wanted to discuss this. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm open to this discussion. And she basically walked me through a business plan. And this is the stuff you learn in like commerce in like year 9 and year 10. It's like, this is a business plan. You know, what is the problem you're solving? How are we going to go about it? And like Rach being Rach, she's super organized, and I was just so impressed because I didn't have any expectations. I thought she was going to verbalize all of this to me, but she had a presentation to go with it, and I was like, wow, this is really happening right now.
Well, part of it was also because I was actually really nervous because I felt like I kind of had to pitch it to you as well to
That's true.
kind of persuade you to do it. And I was like, if I haven't thought this through enough or I haven't made this compelling enough, she might not even want to work with me.
Yeah, but I think the idea was like already really good when we discussed it at dinner. It was more so the hesitancy around, oh, how do we actually make this into a business?
Yeah.
But what reassured me is because Rach has run her business before back in the day.
Yeah, I had a lot of like different experiences.
Yeah, a lot of
Different failures.
But all of that kind of shapes like Rach into who she is at the moment, and she has that grit. And I think you need someone who is, for example, structured, has experience, can guide you. And I think also her profession, being a product manager, helps with all of that. And she actually another thing I remember is there was a specific reason why you wanted to come to me as well. And like not only the fact that I expressed a lot of favorable interests towards the idea, but also the fact that Rach is really good in her own ways, but then I also have my own strengths, and I believe my strengths are around people, like building relationships, talking, having a network to reach out to, connections. So I think it was very complementary in the end.
Yeah. I had like a list of people. I was like, who should I reach out to just in case like people say no? And you were the top of my list exactly because of that. I was thinking like, who can bring something different or unique to my skill set? And yeah, you were exactly that. So I was like, please don't say no.
That was so nice. I remember when she said that, I was like, oh, you thought of me? I wouldn't think of me.
So let's talk about Sonder and Stories. What is it exactly? Yeah, let's start with the problem space. Like, what are we actually trying to solve?
Well, I think you can also talk to this because you're actually in the midst of it, but I can start. I think we're in that age group now where a lot of people are getting engaged and people are getting married and they're entering this new chapter of their lives. And I think at the moment we live in a very digital first world. So what that means is we're always taking photos, we're always taking videos and such. But I actually let Rach talk about the wedding side of things because she's in the middle of doing it.
Yeah, I started thinking about planning a wedding and then I was like, I can't do this, first of all. But just the sheer amount of effort and kind of brain space and time that goes into planning a wedding, it shocked me. And also like the money that goes into holding a wedding. And one of the things that held me back was I just felt like it was so much. Like you start a year out in advance. And hearing stories from friends, it's like you spend so much stress and like you want to get everything perfect and it costs so much. But then at the end, it happens in one day or like maybe a weekend for some people. But it goes by so quickly. And I'm someone who's like extremely sentimental. And I'm the type of person where I might get, you know, those wristbands you get in events?
Oh, yeah.
When I was a kid, I would keep it on for as long as I possibly could because I was like, oh, that was a really fun event and I don't want to forget it. And then if it fell off or like I had to take it off, I would keep it. Like I wouldn't chuck anything out.
Yeah.
And it was just because I hold so much meaningful attachment to everything. And when I thought about, I'm a very big DIYer, so I thought about like, I'm going to design the menus and I'm going to design the signage and the table cards. I went to other people's weddings and I saw the beautiful things that they designed and I was like, this is all just going to go in the bin later and like no one's going to remember this in a few years to come. But it's so important to think about like how much time you've spent on that thing and be able to look back on it.
Yeah.
And so that's what I really wanted. I was like, knowing all this time and money I'm spending, I want to make sure I really preserve this forever so I can feel this almost again and again and not just let it be a one day kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%. Like, just thinking about the cost of a wedding, like, if you're not a DIY, that means you have to, for example, maybe spend on a designer. And they're putting all this time and love into, let's say, making an invitation and all these little, you know, menus and stuff. And even though it might not mean that much in the moment, it's also nice to preserve. Like, adding to your story of like keeping like the bracelets, I used to keep movie tickets.
Plane tickets.
Yeah, all of those things like that now, you know, Opal machines, it's all digital and you forget about it. I used to collect Dolly Girl magazines as well, and girlfriend magazines. So like I think we share the same interest in preserving all these little things, almost borderline hoarding, but it's nice.
Just two hoarders starting a business.
But yeah, it's very much being able to keep these assets that you spend all this time for into actually a physical thing. And I think
Yeah, because it ends up in so much clutter anyway. Like, I'm assuming your movie tickets, your plane tickets, some of your receipts, they just sit in your drawer.
I have a box called The Box, and it's the box of memories.
Which is really nice. But if you had something that you could like physically kind of flip through and see all those things. And some of these invitations people are designing, especially professionals, they're beautiful.
So nice.
They're amazing. So it's such a waste to see that just disappear.
I think it's also we lost the art of creating photo albums, like physical photo albums. A lot of my childhood photos and memories actually sit in those. And nowadays they just sit in Google Drives. You know, like I have all my photos on my phone. If I lost my phone, it'd be over for me. And so I think like Rach, practicing the art of summarizing your year in a physical photo album is such a nice habit to get into. And if that's every year, imagine like the most important day, like, or an important memory like a wedding day. You'd want something that eternalizes those memories in a hand-me-down keepsake that you can show your kids when they get a bit older, you know, pass around to the family. I think it's a really nice keepsake to have.
Yeah. And I think the analogy here, and I told you this once before, was when I got a new iPhone a long time ago, I was going to go on, I don't know, it was like eBay at the time probably, and buy like a $2 phone case for it to protect it. And then the day I bought my iPhone, Lucas was like to me, "You're literally spending thousands of dollars on a phone. Why are you getting such a shit case to protect it?" Like, you would want to spend more, wouldn't you, to actually protect that thing that you're spending so much on. And so I'm kind of like, in a way, it's similar to this. It's, you are spending so much, and not just in money, but also time on a wedding. So why would you want to just forget about it after that day? I think some of those things to help preserve your memories, those can be the most meaningful investments when you're thinking about a wedding.
Yeah. That's why wedding videography exists and wedding photography, but those are all digital. You know, I think that was the problem. Like for me, I back up all my photos into the cloud very regularly, but how often do I actually visit it again? So if you have all your wedding videos and photos in a Google Drive somewhere, like how often are you going to revisit it versus if you have it on your coffee table and it's always there and you can always look at it and pull it out. You know, it becomes a more precious moment if you have someone over and you can give it to them to have a look.
Yeah, you're big on print.
Yeah,
you love.
I am.
Yeah,
I used to go to Officeworks and print photos like the old days and put it into a photo album because that's what lasts.
Yeah. I think it's really special because even with the yearly photo books that I do, when friends came over to our house and we had it just out on the TV unit even, when there's a bit of downtime or they're just chilling, they would just open it and then start looking through it. And it was nice to be able to share those photos and those memories and sometimes be like, "Hey, you're in that picture." So I think, it's such an easier way to revisit those memories again. So, I think there's a lot of problems and a lot of value in what we're solving for here, which is what I'm really excited about.
Yeah.
Shall we talk a bit about like our philosophy for Sonder Stories? I think one of the first is doubling down on this idea of the print form being a lost art. I guess we call it the analog revival, right? Like the current trends that we're heading towards are people getting quite sick of just pure digital forms. And that's why you see such a rise of like film photography and scrapbooking and zines and that sort of thing again. And just like really tangible things that you can put your hands on. And I think that's what we wanted to start with.
Yeah, I think even further to that, we're seeing a lot of young people nowadays, or just in general people, trying to reach for that sense of nostalgia. So I don't know if you've seen on social media, but so many people are buying like old video cameras and video things. And I think it's just that human or that innate feeling of wanting to go back in time because it feels a bit different and it looks a bit different if it's slightly grainy. And I think that's the whole idea of that analog revival. It's that human feeling of wanting to go back to a specific point in time. Like if we talk about separately to all the print stuff, I think that's really important to
like
stay
that's
in
why
touch.
digis are such a big thing now as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's like all these young people who didn't grow up in that time, they still have this weird innate nature to go back to that. Oh, it looks cooler on a digicam.
Yeah.
I think we slightly touched on it in the sense that me and Rach like to preserve certain assets, like whether it's a ticket or a movie ticket. I actually kept receipts of random things. Don't know why. But I think there's like a little bit of an art to it. You might not think too much about it now. I remember in the moment, I probably didn't think too much about the movie ticket to Avatar in 2008 when it came into cinemas. But looking back, it's like, wow, do you remember that time when we could actually print like a train ticket or print a movie ticket? It just doesn't exist anymore.
I think when you see some of those things as well, it's not just the object itself, but it tells such a rich story behind it. Like you said, you kind of see it and then you think about like, do you remember that time where these specific things happened? And that's just such a nice, like that is nostalgic. That's such a nice feeling. It brings you back to those moments. And it's those very little details of just, you know, having your movie ticket, but then seeing the time of the session on it, or like seeing which cinema you were in and you're like, oh, I was in this cinema where we had to walk up these stairs and like go around here and there were like some really nice cushy seats. So it's just all those things that evoke such rich memories in your head. I think that's important. And the other part is, I guess today we have photo books to do all of this, right? That does exist. And the photography just can be so gorgeous, but you look at some photo books sometimes and sometimes it feels a little bit sterile as well. It's almost like beautiful, clean, professional photography, amazing. But it's that combination of that photography where a picture tells 1,000 words. Let's add another 10,000 words through things like scanned items or design elements or even written stories is a part of what we do, because it's almost like you're capturing those little in-between moments, or there's certain details where it brings out just a memory so much stronger than even looking at like a photo that you knew had been taken and you'd posed for it.
For sure. You were taking me back to a memory when you were talking about movie tickets. I remember Burwood Cinema when it was so gross, but like we'd go there in high school anyway. And that's just testament, right? Like Rach was talking about the movie ticket, and in my mind I was thinking about, oh, the movie ticket. Oh yeah, like a cinema. Oh yeah, it was so dirty. But now it's all renovated. And you want to be able to look at something and get taken back immediately. And whether it's a little bit dirty, or whether it's got a little bit of elements here, oh, it's got a coffee stain, why is there a coffee stain? It's all those things that you kind of miss if something's like super sterile and super minimalist. And understandably, we understand that different clients will have different preferences and style. And I think there is a whole minimalist movement, but I think we want to be able to develop our own style as well and bring in those kind of elements to bring that nostalgia to the forefront.
The last part of our philosophy, I suppose, is we have it on our website. It's every unique love story deserves its place in history. And I think that's a really big part of where we wanted to focus what we do, is this experience or this curation with every individual couple that we work with. And I think that's part of the joy in all of this, is this process. And we get so invested in every couple that we talk to in their stories, and they spend time and tell us what makes them them, what are the unique parts of their day, what makes, like, I guess, their relationship special.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, they'll share videos or photos of us, and it almost like brings tears to your eyes because you already feel like you know them and you're their friend.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really important part to us as well.
Yeah, especially for those clients where we're engaged before the wedding and then we talk to them again after the wedding to get a recap of the actual wedding day. You really get a sense of who they are, not only just as individuals, but also as a couple. And you're almost brought on to the journey as well. And I think it's very rare for people to actually open up about their like love stories completely in one sitting. And so when they do, you get glimpses of like the little memories that they've made over the years. And it's really, really, it's a really heartwarming process.
Yeah, so special. What was the thing that excited you most about Sonder and Stories when you first started getting into it?
I think it was mostly the fact that this was such a great idea because it really hit home for me as an individual who loves to scrapbook, preserve memories. And so from a business perspective, it's something that I love to do and I can get along with. I really want to be passionate about what I'm about to embark on. And I think we're bringing something back onto the market or bringing something to the market that will really address something that might be forgotten in print. I think that's really special. I think that's what really excited me. Like, yes, opening a business is really fun, but I think the actual idea and what the impact we can bring to couples for such a important day in their lives is going to be quite immense. So yeah, that was what really excited me, like to make an impact for couples.
Yeah. I think I was actually really excited about this being a creative outlet, like something that you would really be able to spend a lot of. And honestly, okay, so one of the things I think about with this business, or even like, let's call it a project even, is that it isn't the most scalable thing. That's something that we're going to experience challenges with because we do spend a lot of time on every single couple's book.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a service. It's definitely going to be hard to replicate that at huge amounts of scale. But I think what's so beautiful about it is that there is an aspect of creativity that goes into understanding a couple and then being able to tailor something for them and being able to put those layouts together. That's not something we do in our regular jobs in tech. And the second is the storytelling aspect of it is just we both love a good story. It's just so fun to hear. And it doesn't get old.
No.
Like we've done a couple now and just every single time it's always something different. It's always something new and it's fun to hear about.
Exactly. And I think every project is never the same. Even though we have done like quite a few now, it's just never the same because every couple has a different color to them and a different smile and a different story. And I think that's why when we work, jobs that offer a different color every day or a different theme every day keeps it interesting. And that's why so far, like, it's just been really nice.
And the other thing is, like, I know, for example, with you, when we do a new project, Tash will often be the first to get the photos and then go through them, and she loves it. Like,
I love photos.
Curation of the photos, just looking through it and seeing what happened in the day. And I remember in one of our earliest projects, there were 5,000 photos, and then Tash went through it in a couple of hours on the first night.
Yeah, I was like, scroll. I think it's just so fun. Also, just like because Rach is in the process of planning her wedding, but I'm also just like, ooh, one day when my wedding, where do I want to have my wedding? Or what kind of photographer do I want? So I'm just like processing all of these things. What kind of style do I like as well?
Yeah.
So it's fun for me.
And you're like picking out almost the story to tell for them that reflects them best through these pictures and figuring out like what vibes are best with this couple. And it's really cool.
Yeah, I guess like something as well, like segue. I think you do require a bit of EQ. You know? Like you got to know how to read the couple and kind of what style do you think they like. But we also obviously go through a process where we ask them like for certain preferences and such. But like it does require a bit of like reading into the couple to see, okay, what's the best selection of photos that will tell their story.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's actually really fun. It's like a little puzzle for me.
Yeah. And to mention, I guess, it's like not always been the couple that we first speak to, but we've actually had, I guess, an evolution that we didn't realize before of friends wanting to buy this as a gift for the couple, which has also been really cool.
Exactly. They obviously, so I had a few friends who wanted to gift it to the bride and groom, and so they bring their own flavor into it as well. And for example, we give the friends a opportunity to write a little note that's then forever preserved into the book as well. So you know, they remember it was a gift from this friend at this point in time for their big day.
I do want to segue us because that's enough of a sales pitch. I hope that didn't come off as too salesy, but like genuinely you can tell that we're so passionate and excited about this problem area, and we just believe in it so deeply that it was very easy to spend a lot of time talking about that.
Yeah, it just kind of came off the tongue.
Yeah. But this episode is about starting a business with your friend. And so I want to dive a little bit deeper into that and just kind of extrapolate out a little bit more of just the space in general and what it's been like working together. So taking us back, I guess, like what worked well for us. After that first coffee house meeting, we also did a couple of Zooms. And in one of our initial Zooms, we did have a conversation around establishing our ways of working and kind of how we would operate as a partnership and like what are the ground rules that we would almost set between the two of us. So should we talk about like a little bit about that and how that went?
Yeah. This was the first time that Rach and I were ever working together. But having been in the tech space, I kind of know what her role kind of entails, and also knowing Rach, I kind of have an idea of who she is as a person. And she obviously came to me for particular reasons, right, as we discussed before. So I think as a person, I'm very receptive to listening to someone more assertive. For example, Rach has the experience in producing something that is, you know, intangible and an idea into a vision, right? That's what she does day to day at work. And so for me, it was always about listening. Okay, how can I help her in my own way? So I think in defining the ways of working, it was a lot of listening to Rach first. And knowing what my assets were that could complement. I think that, again, requires a bit of EQ. Sometimes when you have two really strong people, it might not work out. But it's not to say I'm not assertive. I like to let the more assertive person take the room first, and then I'll produce like my own opinions.
I think the other bit of context maybe that is why we are the way we are is I'm a year older than you.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Like in high school, we weren't super close friends because
Yeah.
Tash was in the year below.
Yes.
And so I actually never talked to her. So maybe that's a little bit of it as well. Like age doesn't really matter once you get to a certain age, but maybe you see me as someone who has a bit more experience, like that 1 year of experience in life.
I mean, it's not even like 1 year old. It's just like you have more experience. You're so accomplished. You've done all these business cases like when you were young. I remember that. I remember in uni, like Rachel was in all these business case things. So she has the knowledge and the ability to pitch as well. So I think it's like relying on her skills. She seems like she's dabbled in a lot of things and she has a lot of ways to articulate her ideas and letting her lean into what she does well and then figuring out what I can do well is where it works. But we can get into the specifics.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Do you remember like some of the ground rules that we set with each other early on?
Yeah, so I think it was mostly like keeping the idea or talking about the business outside of our social circles for a little bit. I think we wanted to protect it and make sure that we could be the first environment if we were discussing things, we bounce off each other, like we're the soundboard for each other first.
Yeah. It's a big risk when you're starting a business with a friend because they always say don't mix, what do they say? Don't mix business with pleasure. Is that what they say?
I think
Something
so.
like
I'm
that.
really bad with idioms.
Yeah. So the risk is obviously if something goes wrong in the business, then it affects your friendship and the circles around you. And it can just become a whole big thing. And that was one thing that was really important to us is keeping these two as quite independent relationships. Like we have a working relationship and then we have a friendship. But we don't want to mix those things too much in that, let's say, I think one of the things we said was if we have a disagreement and we're not happy about how the other person might be working or doing something, we're not going to talk about it to our friends. Like it's fine if we're going to talk about it to our partners because, you know, you confide everything in them.
Yeah.
But beyond that, we're not going to be talking about any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's important.
Yeah, for sure. And I think knowing who Rach is as well and who I am, I don't think we're the type of people to would do that anyway. Like we try and protect that as much as possible because I think we both know the impact of if we were to diverge from this, like it would not help us. So I think we're very good in sticking to a rule that we've placed for ourselves.
Yeah. And then the second was us talking about what we actually wanted to get out of the business too, and out of this whole idea. And so we kind of shared what were our kind of key goals here.
Yeah. I think for me, it was mostly that creative fulfillment, or being able to have something outside of work that would allow me to have my creative juices flow into something else that would feel fulfilling. Not saying that work isn't fulfilling. I really love my job, but I think there's an element of storytelling that can be applied in a different context to really keep your brain active, to keep you, I don't know, just challenging yourself. I think it's a really important aspect for me. So for me, it was mostly that.
And part of it for you was, it seemed like learning, right? A lot of learning about even how do we start a business and all the different kind of logistics behind it, and like how do we talk to suppliers?
Yeah. Oh, this is going to sound so so silly, but it's like, for example, when you start a business, what do you need to open? Okay, I need to apply for an ABN. I need to open a business banking account, but then like, what does that imply? Like, what are the implications on tax?
Yeah.
Like, what? It's like a part of adulting. You know, when you get to a point where you're like, okay, I got to do all these things as an adult, and now I'm adding an extra layer of like, okay, now I have a business. What are the considerations on that, and how is it going to impact my life? On what life admin do I have to do? It's quite good. Like, as an adult, you might lose time, but spending that time on fulfilling things and keeping you busy is so important.
Yeah. And we've learnt a lot.
Yeah. And it doesn't help that we've both torn our ACLs. And like, we have to go to the bank. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. But we got that done. Last
it's all
week
done.
we did that.
It's all done.
We have a bank account now. I think it was quite nice that our goals were very aligned. So mine, in a similar way, was creative fulfillment and having a creative outlet and just having fun and doing something on the side. I'm the type of person who, I don't really like to sit around and like scroll and then not feel like my life is progressing in any meaningful way. And to my detriment sometimes, achievement is what drives me and makes me feel fulfilled. And so having a project on the side where we have a goal and we're slowly working towards it, that feels very motivating and energizing. And so I think that's really nice that we were both wanting to get similar things out of this, as opposed to like one person wants to get really rich and then the other one just kind of wants to like explore and figure out and learn. Because for both of us, I think right now maybe like money isn't the biggest deal out of this, and that's a good thing that we are aligned on that.
Yeah.
And we did say like, if this works out, great, like we figure out how to scale it more. But if it's just a side thing that we're doing and we are getting what we need out of it, then that's also a good outcome.
Yeah. Very early on, I think we agreed that we wanted to treat this as a project first. And I think that kept us accountable, but it didn't put amazing amounts of pressure on us to get some viable product up and running on the market straight away. I think because there was not that pressure, it kept it more lighthearted. And so we could really freely brainstorm without that expectation that, okay, we're going to market in 2 months, let's do it, you know?
Yeah. It's fun. It's been
Fun.
a really great experience. Although I do think that maybe we need a bit of pressure.
I do think, yes. Maybe now we need a little bit of pressure.
Yeah.
There have been moments where like we slip out of it because there's just so much that happens in life. I mean, Rachel tore her ACL in like December, and then I just tore mine. And then so much has happened in
Travel.
that. Yeah. And I remember when we were traveling, it was like, oh, how do we do this when we're on the run? But we're on the run. I'm not running from anything, sorry. But like, I think life doesn't stop, and being able to dedicate time for a project like this also builds great habits.
But I feel like we're in that MVP exploration type of phase, and it definitely feels like once we've figured out how this all works together, that's when we've got to really pedal to the metal kind of thing. But if I didn't have a co-founder, I wouldn't have that accountability. And honestly, like a lot of this would have just petered out. Like, I'd been like, yeah, fun to do for a little bit, but still, even though we don't put the hard pressure on each other, just knowing that you're accountable to someone means that, you know, you don't go that long without being like, hey, should we get a move on with some of these things?
Yeah. And I think it's also like, because Rach is my co-founder, I don't want to disappoint her as well. So there's that motivation to, I want to do my best. So like, Rach is happy, I'm happy, we're happy, and we're happy with what we're putting out there.
And then one of the last things I remember we talked about was just contingency planning, really. It was like exit plans. Like, what if one of us doesn't want to do this anymore? What happens then? Or like, I don't know, what if something unexpected or bad happens? And I think it was a bit awkward to talk about those things at first, because when you start a business with a friend, you're like, none of that's going to happen. Like, everything is so great right now. But I think those were really important conversations to have, because when those things happen, it's already almost too late to talk about, well, what if? And you kind of want to get ahead of that early so there's a plan in place just in case.
Yeah. It's like a prenup. Like, you don't want to go into the marriage thinking about, okay, what happens if there is a divorce and what is the consequences of that? But I think in this day and age, it's really important too. Even in a business perspective, I think it might be something that people kind of overlook. But it is something really important that we did discuss very early on. But even early on, I didn't even know. Like, I was like, oh, what would happen?
Yeah. It was weird talking about it, because you're like, why would this ever happen?
Yeah,
but
she just brought this idea to me, and now I have to think about the exit strategy. Wait, what?
yeah. But similar to what you said with the prenup, someone said this to me once as an analogy as well, because people get a bit, I guess, like antsy about these kind of prenup or like pre-mortem kind of conversations, because they think that it's going to jinx the outcome of what you're going to do. But it's kind of like, if you get in a car, you might get into a car accident. You're not saying you will, but you put a seatbelt on. And you don't put a seatbelt on because you're preparing to go into the car accident. You're just protecting yourself in the like slight case that something happens.
Wow, that's a great analogy.
Right?
So yeah, who told you that?
I can't remember.
That's a really good one.
Yeah. How useful did you find this conversation in the end?
I think it's a really important one to have, and it's going to be a consistent conversation you have as you go through the business, and it's important to keep each other accountable, because at the end of the day, we're all human. We're not going to be satisfying each other's needs 100% of the time, same as a relationship. So it's always to have those open lines of communication and being honest, like giving your co-founder or the people involved a safe space to express what they're feeling and know that you'll be okay. We'll get through it. Yeah. I think that's really important. So I think Rachel's always made me feel like it'll be okay. We can figure it out. Yes, we've come across a little bit of a hurdle, but you know, a bit more time, a bit more discussions, we'll get to a solution. So I think the most important thing to take out of this is have the discussion, have the talk. Don't think it's going to be the end of the world. It's just a problem, and problems are natural. And problems are meant to be solved.
I like what you said about it's going to be an ongoing conversation, because I think what it did really nicely is start us off on, I guess, a level of transparency that was expected between us in a business. And I think it's so important to be able to talk openly about uncomfortable things, because that's the only way that you're going to solve problems together. Whereas if you let something kind of fester or like try to ignore it, then it just gets worse, and that creates more of the big issues. So I wanted to also make sure that we were being as honest to each other as we could, whilst also knowing that none of it was meant to be personal.
Yeah.
Like, we're not taking offense on what we're saying to each other. We're literally doing this because we're a team, and we have a common goal, and we need to get to that. So yeah, I think that was important. But I would say that can't just have that one conversation and just let it be at that, because I felt like some of what we talked about, it was hard to answer in that moment, because you just kind of don't even know what you're getting yourself into. And I don't know, I feel like we've had more and more conversations from then that have us revisiting some of these things and adding to it, and like revealing, oh, I didn't know this about you, or like, I didn't know this is how we might work together. And then like we kind of do that again and again, and that's important.
I think this is testament to those skills you kind of just go through life building unknowingly, and it ends up being a really important skill to have. Not only being able to communicate, but also listening to the other person and creating that safe space. Sometimes we're not equipped with that, but I think this is a skill that's not only applicable in a business setting, but also your relationships, your friends, your family. Like, how do you create that space for you to talk about an issue or something you're feeling, and then how do you give them the reassurance that we'll be okay, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Let's talk then about the challenges that we faced along the way in our journey. What's stood out to you?
I think not very early on actually. Like we were doing really well, and then we came across our first issue. Well, I don't want to call it issue, a hurdle. It was around not being able to clearly define our responsibilities and the boundaries around it. So, for example, Rach has always been in product design and in the design space. I don't have that kind of same level of attention to detail or experience. And so for her, it was really important, like as we discussed, for her, this was her creative outlet, and because she wanted a secondary creative outlet to work. And being able to fulfill that side of her was really important. But I also had an idea of what the design should be. And so I started to dabble in a bit of the design. And so it was like, oh, wait, are two people designing this, or should we make it a singular responsibility? Do you want to elaborate on your experience?
Yeah. This is hard because different things are going to work for different founders as well, I think. And some people, okay, I don't know what's right and what's wrong, but some people are going to love the chaos of like both people do a bit of everything and you just kind of like dive into each other's work. But I guess maybe it's more for me.
Yeah.
I do like the clarity of who is looking at what and who's going to make a decision at the end of the day. And I think where I found the most challenge was even when we did our like first book, we were both designing because it's a big task. And I know like you didn't want to put that all on me because that's a lot of work. But then what we ended up happening was I would design, and then you'd be synchronously designing, and then like I would go through over your page and change some things, and then you would go through my pages and change some things, and then I would go back to my page and be like, change it back.
Yeah.
And it was just so much like rework.
It was a lot of disorganization that didn't really need to be there, but we were like figuring it out because it was so early stages.
And because design is so subjective,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, hey, why'd you do this? Like, I like it this way.
Yeah.
So I think that was definitely challenging. And then this was something I spoke with Sam about in one of the more recent episodes, just about having the creative direction. It's something that is quite subjective and like unique to you as an individual. And so when you have a creative direction, it's hard when you're like setting that out and like putting it together to suddenly get like clashing input from other people and then figure out like, oh, but this is my vision, and now like I don't know how to fold this thing into it, and now I'm confused and like this is too much. And I think that was something that I struggled a lot with.
Yeah. And I think that also is because you're in product management and because you're responsible for that. So I think like most of the decision should flow through you, right? Like your responsibility is to create that. Is that how?
Yeah, there's a lot of decision making on the PM, but it should be fed from input by other people.
Right.
There needs to be that level of trust for sure.
Yeah. And I think to give it more context is I think we have different styles or different design preferences. So I can talk about mine. So I have been like, I'm more like, I wouldn't say all minimalist, but I like it simple but done really, really well. So it's classic and timeless. And then Rach can talk about hers.
I'm a bit like crazy.
It's not crazy.
I like very artistic, creative forms of expression. Think very like artsy zine where you've got different textures or like the layouts are all bit everywhere and there's scribbles and different effects and things all put together. And I like to break out of that kind of box of classic design and be like, what can we do here to make this just really interesting and pop? And we did a kind of brainstorm together, pulling like what we liked from designs that we saw on Pinterest and just comparing them side by side was so interesting.
Because we hadn't done that activity before, and it was actually, we did it recently. And so when we did, we're like, wow, it's so different. But that's not to say I don't like what Rach has just said around design. It's just I don't think I have the design capability to get there. So I actually don't know what like needs to be done to achieve that. But it's not that I don't like it. I like it. I just don't know. It's not my skill set. So
I think it's just like different ways that our taste like leans as well, which is totally fine because say, for example, we made a reel months back when we first picked up our books from the supplier. And even then you can kind of see our styles are so different. You're like beautifully classy and chic and, you know, nice top, that sort of thing. And I rock up in like jorts and a hoodie and like my Crocs. And so it's just like different vibes put together.
Yeah.
And one of the struggles with that is actually, I think that a lot of the market prefers the minimalist Vogue type of thing. And I would always push Tash on like, but we want to develop our own design identity and we want to be, you know, stood out from the market. Like, why would someone come to us versus just getting their own photo book and things like that? But also there's the risk on going too far on that side of you just don't appeal to many people and your market's so niche that the business doesn't really take off. And so I think doing the workshop that we had last week with our different kind of preferred styles and then figuring out not just like, oh, we're going to go with my style or we're going to go with your style, but like what elements are we going to bring together to create our own unique identity has been really valuable.
Yeah. And I think we have only recently arrived at this is because after doing quite a few books, we started to, well, Rach actually was the one who brought up the question is like, what is our style identity? Like, what are people coming to us for? Like, are we trying to be a mass market product or are we trying to have a niche? And that really like made me think. I was like, you're right. Like, do I want to be a mass market, like minimalist book that anyone can go to? Or do I want to have a, you know, product that, okay, they know that they can come to us because we have that style and that's something that they're interested in.
And I think that comes back to our goals or why we wanted to start this in the first place. And part of it is that creative fulfillment and creating something that might be mass market appeal, but is just us churning out the same, I'm going to call it like bland type of books over and over. Like that's not fulfilling what we actually wanted to do when we started this.
Yeah. And I'm so glad Rach kind of like brought me back to that because she brought a really good point and it made me think, okay, you're right. Why are we doing this in the first place? And you have to really, not only do you have to keep each other accountable, but like you have to keep yourself accountable as well.
And if that why changes and we pivot in the future, then we just have those conversations and we realign on why we're doing things at that stage.
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe things will change.
Yeah.
Who knows? What did you feel was most helpful when it came to us overcoming this challenge of like different design identities and preferences and it was really unclear roles and responsibilities or unclear who was the decision maker at the end of the day for certain parts of the business?
I think Rach did a really good job of bringing it to my attention. I had to personally have to not take it offensively.
Yeah. I don't know if I did a really good job.
I think aside of things, like Rachel's opinion at the end of the day is valid. When someone's bringing something to you, their feelings are valid. And so I know that they're coming to me for a reason. Was I maybe taken aback? Probably. But then I reminded myself, oh, she's just trying to bring something to my attention early so it doesn't become a problem later. So I think, again, it comes to like you need to be mature about these things. You can't take it so personally. She's not attacking you. She's just bringing up a problem that she wants to solve together. And so then after like you need to read it and sometimes if you feel heated, just walk away and then you come back to the conversation and then it's okay. And I think that just again comes to how mature or what that working dynamic is between you and your business partner. Something we're obviously working through or like discovering along the way, but it was like probably the first hiccup we've encountered. And so it was just treating it like, okay, this is our first hiccup. Let me see how we can do it. For me, Rach, I appreciate that Rach can be assertive and she can put an opinion on the table. So I let her do that. Then it was like, okay, let me listen to Rach. Let me hear what she is saying. But I'm also a bit like sassy myself. So like sometimes communication over Messenger might not be good.
Yeah, so true. And then we like met up and we talked about it actually.
And then it was fine. Then it was fine.
Yeah.
So I think
because the tone you read can be misinterpreted. Yeah.
But it's not a problem. Like it's not a problem specific to businesses. It's every day. Like when you have an issue with your friends, like sometimes can just be read out of context or read in the wrong tone. But all it needs is like a proper conversation to work through it.
I think part of it was the benefit of you being mature enough to not take offense to my initial responses.
Yeah.
And know that it wasn't like a personal kind of thing. But for sure, like I need to put my ego to check sometimes, and then over time also realize or be okay with taking other people's opinions.
Yeah.
Because like I do feel like once I get opinionated, it's hard for me to then open my mind up to the alternatives. And so that's something that I've been learning to do more is like, say, let's bring up the example of the workshop last week. It's not just my way.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, when we're building a design identity, even though I may feel like more opinionated about some things, how do we make this reflective of a design identity that is the both of us, not just me?
Yeah. And I think with the way that Rach brought it up, I didn't take it to heart because I also knew what was happening in her life at the time. So you need to be understanding to those. Like sometimes when you're stressed, things just kind of come out. And so I was like, you know what? It's okay. At the end of the day, things happen.
I think the biggest thing was just like at work, I was facing similar kind of challenges where there was a lack of ownership and a lack of feeling of impact or autonomy. And then I was feeling like almost that was brought into the project that we were doing as well. And I was like, this was meant to be kind of like not that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was good that you kind of knew what was also going on outside of things to bring context to. I mean, like, my messages weren't very aggressive.
No, they weren't. They weren't. Just saying they were not.
It does sound like we're making it sound like that, but I was just like a little bit more emotional.
Yeah, and like I said, like I knew what was happening in her life at the time, and like any good friend or business partner, like I want her to feel fulfilled. Like again, anchoring back to why this business started, that creative fulfillment, that ability to have direction. That's what she wanted, and remembering that, I was like, okay, I understand what she wants out of this, so let me just see what I can do to help her get that again. Yeah.
And then it's got to go both ways.
Yeah.
But definitely I think we had multiple conversations about this. It's not just one. It's going to take time again and again to like talk about it, figure out, try something else, and then try again. And so I feel like we're in a much better place than we were in the beginning because we've gone through this.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's been good. To turn away from the challenges, let's talk about some of the fun memories that we've had working together as friends.
Honestly, it's like the smallest things. So one, I don't want to say it's a singular memory, but just being able to, for example, go to each other's houses. We like cook dinner sometimes when I go to Rach, and then we kind of do a life debrief.
Yeah, and then Monty, my dog, will always lick Tasha's toes. I don't know
my
what
God.
it is.
Like always, my toes are wet, like slobbered up. And I sometimes forget because I'm coming from work and I don't like to wear sneakers to work. So I always wear like my ballet flats or my heels. And then I'm like, oh crap, I'm going to Rachel's house and my toes are going to be wet again.
So fun. Yeah, no, it is lots of fun experiences working together.
Yeah. I love Monty as well. Monty, she's so sweet. She always like, I love rubbing her. I'm like also like allergic to dogs, but I love Monty. And she's like, very hairy, very furry.
And very in your space. We're always like, okay, go away now. Go away.
It's so funny watching the way Rach talks to Monty. He's like talking to like a human.
Yeah, and then Lucas will always kind of be in the background and he's like trying to like rein her in or play with her or distract her.
So
it's
cute.
Just so lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, actually one of the fun memories I wanted to mention was actually when we were brainstorming the name of our business.
Oh my God.
That was it was so fun, so funny, but
So painful.
pain.
I'm really bad at Instagram captions. So I don't even want to post because of that. And then having to think of a business name. Oh my God. How many times did we write prompts into ChatGPT at the time?
So much. And then we had so many sessions and they would be like hours long and we like had so many variations and then we think we land on one and then go home and be like, actually, I hate it.
Yeah. Yeah. It was so funny. And then like we agreed on a name and then we walked away. I went home and I was like, wait, what about the word Sonder? I love the word Sonder. And then Rachel was like, I love the word Sonder.
Yeah.
That's literally how it happened.
Like literally the first variation of the name I had as the working name. It was like Koibi.
koibizine
yes.
or something. But koibi meant like love in Japanese or something. I don't know. Anyway, and then we looked at variations of like different flowers with
my
their
God.
meanings. We looked at different languages. We came up with all these key words that we felt would be tied to our business. We came up with different emotions we wanted people to feel, like
Yeah.
the vibe of the brand, all this stuff.
So hard.
And then we had like, did we have any other? We came up with ampersand.
Ampersand. But
So
wait, I don't know why it was ampersand.
We had amber and. Which
Yeah.
is like,
What is amber? Oh no, then we thought about like what's the symbol or like the connotations of amber. It was something to do with preservation.
Yes.
So we were like, oh, we want to like capture that. But then when you think about it now, like when you hear amber and it's like, it has nothing to do with preservation in your head. Like amber's a color.
We were trying to, because we kind of liked it looking like amber with the ampersand.
Yes, that's right. The
And then tried
ampersand.
to look at making the Instagram name for it, but you can't have an and as your profile. So it was like amper and?
Yep.
And we were like, that's
No.
weird.
And then yeah, like we had agreed on, I think it was amber and as we started there.
Yeah.
Then I got home and then I just said, what about Sonder? I was like,
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, you're a genius. Like that word literally never even came up, but I love it.
yeah, it's so crazy. Like I think that's how business names kind of start sometimes. It's like you put all this effort and then there's like one moment where it's like, oh, what about this?
Yeah.
And it was like, oh,
Yeah.
light bulb.
And we knew we wanted it to do something with like storytelling,
Yeah.
evoking that. And I think we had a bit of a discussion on like, should we make it Sonder and Stories or Sonder Stories? And then you were like, Sonder and Stories sounds better. And
Yeah.
so we were like, yeah, that's it. That is so good. But Sonder essentially means it's this feeling that you have when you're in a crowded space or like just walking by people and then realizing that other people around you have a story and have a whole life lived behind them. It's kind of like that realization that people around you aren't just NPCs and they've all got their own story to tell. And so we loved that because that literally is what we're trying to do here, is tell every person's unique story. And then I guess like and stories, because
We are writing
Stories.
So it just makes it clearer from like, it's Sonder. People don't really know the word Sonder. Like if I
Yeah.
have my parents, like they're not born from here. So they're like, what is Sonder? So you have to explain it to them. But most people nowadays know the idea of Sonder, but it's actually hard to put into words.
yeah.
So I think it's a good talking point for us as well when we
beautiful.
explain the idea of what Sonder is.
Yeah, for sure. Any other fun memories? I have one. We met up once and we decided to do some filming. Like, because Tasha's in charge of like doing content and marketing and figuring out how we get our story out there. And she was like, let's film a reel. And we were like, okay, let's do our intro reel. And then well, I kind of came like, I was just unprepared as well. Came in, we didn't have a script or anything, and we were like, okay, we should figure out what we're actually going to say. And then we spent like, I felt like it was 2 hours scripting.
It was a while.
And it was so painful because like we would be typing and you know like when someone else is there whilst you're trying to think of the right words to type and it just like gets messy because you're like, I don't know what to type anymore. I don't know what to say. And then we would rewrite sentences over and over because we're like, that doesn't sound right. This is too long. I was like, let's never do that again.
Never. No. I think it was also very early on in the business as well. So we were also trying to figure out what are the answers to this question, which ended up taking so long because we were learning ourselves and we were trying to define who we are.
Yeah. And we're trying to like do it in a polished way as well.
So
And I just remember looking, like, as we were on the couch typing the script, I was looking out the window and being like, this is jail. Like, I want to leave.
I think because Rachel likes to be really efficient and this was just
Yeah.
like such a time consuming activity
Yeah.
that we could have done before so that we came into the session prepared.
And just film and knock it out.
Yeah, but no. And
So
like,
funny.
so for me, like that's something I'm happy to do, but I realize it is a waste of time.
I was like, let's never do that again.
Yeah, it was funny though.
But it is, yeah, it's so funny to think back on.
I had one. The other good memory is this bad boy here.
Oh, so, yeah.
So obviously when you're starting a business and you have a physical product, you need to engage suppliers. One of the suppliers we had to engage was packaging. And then we were like, where do we even start?
Oh God, yeah. How do you even find a packaging supplier? Like, who do you just Google it?
No, but like, how do you design it? Like, how do I build these like little diagrams of it? Like, Rach helped me.
And like, what are these boxes even called?
Yeah, so because obviously these books are so precious, we want to make sure that they are protected, and we don't want, for example, the edges to be ruined during shipping and such, and we want to preserve the longevity of the book as well.
Yeah, and you want it to just feel like a luxurious, like a good experience.
Yeah. And so I think Rach actually brought the design to me first, and I was like, thank God, I didn't even know where to start. Because when I was searching up tutorials on how to do packaging, they used all these programs. I was like, I don't objects, like, no. And so she designed it in like a 2D way, which made it easy for me to understand. But then when it came to finding a supplier, that's kind of where my skill set was. So
So helpful.
yeah, because Rachel's like good at designing. I'm good at like finding and resourcing. So it was then she brought a design. I had to make it work. But then when I was researching suppliers, I came across this style of packaging called a magnetic open box. And I was like, that's pretty cool because then you can open it and then the book is in it. And so I was like, okay, let's see what suppliers can actually do this. So it turns out there actually aren't that many. I couldn't find that many that wanted to do the MOQ that we wanted. So it was just a matter of distilling how many there were on the market to who could actually fulfill what you wanted. So actually, I make it sound really simple, but it was really hard trying to find the right supplier to tick all the right boxes. And then also sampling itself. Oh my goodness. Very difficult.
Yeah.
And I
expensive, as we knew.
Expensive, but I think it is a process of learning how to run a business, especially when you're producing a tangible product. So, for example, the struggle was the dimensions of this box. You need to make sure you measure the product correctly.
Gosh, show them.
So, wait, this one fits now though.
Well, I've got the other book
Oh,
here.
okay.
Okay.
So
For people on the audio version of this, we're showing the box where our soft cover fits in perfectly.
perfectly. Ooh. So if I open it like this,
Yeah.
and then you've got the ribbon pull so you can easily
it's
take it out. It's
beautiful.
really nice. So this is the soft cover. And so we were measuring it based on this one, totally forgetting we also have a hardcover option. So we didn't take this into consideration. So then when the sample arrived and then I went to go put it in, it didn't fit. And I was like, how has this become, like, how did this happen? And then we realized we were measuring the sizes of the pages, which is translatable in a soft cover, but when you have a hard cover, there's extra centimeters all around. And so then we had to go back and then order another one with the updated dimensions. And there's so many different ways you can solve this problem. They said, why don't you send us a book and then we can measure it for you and then you'll have the right dimensions. But then that's extra time, extra money. Like, surely we can do it ourselves. It shouldn't be that hard. So just a lot of little obstacles along the way, but all a learning experience.
And the other thing was the color wasn't quite right?
Oh, yes.
Like we had this,
like a seal.
the seal in the middle, and we had a certain color that we wanted it, but I think we sent it in like an RGB hex code.
Yes.
And then it came out so much darker than we expected, and we were like, that's not quite right.
Yeah.
And the supplier was like, it needs to be in like CMYK coloring, and we're
Yeah.
like, well, nobody told us that.
Yeah, they didn't tell us that, but we're like, oh, fair enough. We should have known.
Yeah.
And then another thing was like, this clasp covers the name. And then I was like,
No, we should have seen that though.
yeah, we
should have known.
We should have known, but it was just, this is why you do samples, guys.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
really important to, even though it's expensive.
Yeah. But I think, that's been such a, like, to be honest, I haven't been super involved in this apart from Tash sending me like options every now and then after the initial design and being like, this color or this texture or this thing. And I've been like, yeah, this is this. But yeah, you've done most of the work on that packaging and it's ended up so beautiful. And I feel like you've learned so much through it.
Oh my God, I've learnt so much about paper.
Yeah.
Like choosing the paper, like, is it waterproof? Does it need to be waterproof?
True.
Trying to see the color of a piece of paper over images versus in person is also very difficult. So yeah, doing things virtually has its benefits, but I can see why people make trips to China and like visit all these suppliers in person too.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe we would do that if, in the future. Who
Yeah.
knows? Last thing that I would love us to talk about is just like a bit of a partnership audit between us. And the first question is just, how do you feel we work together? And if you could score it out of 10.
Yes. I think we work really well together. I would say like a good solid 8.
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
Actually, we should have done a 3, 2, 1. Yeah.
Yeah,
We're,
because
we're figuring things out for
yeah,
sure.
and I think we both excel in where we do well at. I think it's obviously natural to run into problems, but we've demonstrated the ability to communicate. Might have been areas of improvement, but we've taken that feedback on and then we reiterate and then we come back better. I think that's really important to see how do you overcome things and work together, because that sets the precedent for every other thing that might come up in the future. So I think that's been really, really good. And I never want to do a 9 because then it's too close to like perfect. So I think we're on the right track
Yeah.
and we're only going to have room for improvement.
We have a solid base. I
Yeah.
think that's really good. What would make us a 9?
Ooh.
I have 1, which I think will be hard, but I think more time spent
Yeah.
together. Like we meet once a week.
Yeah.
Sometimes we skip.
Sometimes.
Yeah, because we're both very busy. Once the business like really starts to take off, or like we start really doubling down on it, taking it really seriously, I do feel like running a business with a friend, you need a lot of frequent communication. You need a lot of time spent together, not just on like the tactical kind of things that we're working on at the moment, but figuring out the future of us together and like what's the strategy and where are we heading and those sorts of things. But I'm happy with an 8 right now.
Yeah, I think an 8 is really good. I think one other thing I would add to that, it just came to mind, is just like, because we're still treating this not as, not that it's not serious, but it's not something where, okay, this is going to take me out of my full-time job.
Yes.
Because of that, there's sometimes moments where we kind of like get slack off. And I think we need to continue keeping each other accountable.
Yeah.
So, for example, what is our plan for next week? What are we doing? What are we trying to achieve?
Yes.
Yeah, just literally the basics.
Yeah.
The basics. It always comes down to foundations, to be honest. But yeah, I think even if we have a problem, we'll bring it up with each other and we'll work through it. So it's been good so far. Yeah.
I think I know your personality type, but let's do a quick recap on that because it might reveal why we are the way we are when we work together.
Okay, I haven't done it recently, but I don't think I've changed. But I am an ESFJ.
And I am an INTJ.
Wow, that's almost the opposite of each other.
Which explains a lot of our interactions.
Yeah, wait. So what? So E and I, obviously extrovert, introvert. S and N.
N is very systems, big picture, conceptual type of thinking, like vision kind of thing.
Yep.
S is more sensing in the details, figuring out like the nitty gritty of what we need to do to get to that vision, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm really bad at that visionary stuff, like all that organized stuff. So it's very complimentary, I find. 'Cause I'm like,
Yeah.
I let Rach do all of that. And then I'm like, okay, what do I need to do to support Rach to get there?
Yeah.
That makes so much sense.
This is cool. F and T is like thinking and feeling.
Feeling.
I guess like decision making based off having a lot of clarity around like the evidence and the data and that sort of thing versus decision making that's based on more intuition and kind of like the vibe.
Yeah. I struggle with the T a lot. Like I'm very, like if I could say, I'd be probably 99% F. I do a
Really?
lot of feeling. Maybe 99% is a lot.
I'm pretty in the middle though, actually, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Maybe 99% is a lot, but I am very much a feeler. I struggle with logical thinking sometimes, but that's why I read people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tend to like go off their vibe and what are they feeling, and I'm like, okay, I can help support her in that way.
Yeah. And then we're both J's, which is like very structured, organized, planning, that sort of thing,
Oh yeah.
which is cool.
Oh yeah. When I'm planning a trip, that spreadsheet is being filled out.
I would say that I lean maybe a bit too much on the J side sometimes in terms of, I think that's where some of our like clashes come from, is that I have a lot of anxiety over things, as you know, and maybe you've learnt this about me, is like I'm very particular about things.
Yeah.
And that's where some of our conversations have come from, where I'm like,
but I expected it this way, or like, I thought that we were going to do it like this. And Natasha's a little bit more free.
Yeah,
And she's like,
I can do whatever, to be honest, but I feel like I'm a good follower and listener too. So if you give me like a structure, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Let's do it that way as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And I think
helps.
like, I remember one of the early things was like, because like you said, I've been more experienced like in the just design space. Like I'm
Yeah.
not a designer, by the way,
Yeah.
but I like to dabble in it and I
Yeah.
like to see what's happening. I cared a lot about alignment,
Yeah.
layouting,
Yeah.
spacing, and that sort of thing, and making sure everything was clean together. Even though I know I said before, like with zine kind of style, it's very like everywhere, but I still cared about like, are these photos, if they're meant to be in the center, are they exactly in the center? Or are these two images exactly the same size if we're intending for them to be? And then sometimes I would click on a page that you've thrown together and like the two pictures would be like slightly off. And I'm like, that doesn't look right. It's like, that would stress me out.
But I'm glad that she gets stressed out by that because I can't pick that up because like I've never been trained. Like my eye hasn't been trained for those things. So then Rach always filmed these little clips. They're like, Tash, this is how you do alignment. Sorry, I was like, bookmark.
This is design hygiene. But you were kind of like throwing things on and you'd be like, yep, this is where we're going directionally. And then I think I would jump in too early and be like, why is this not aligned? And you're like, oh no, I was just throwing some stuff in there for now. I'll clean it up later. And I'd be like, no.
Yeah. That's like
Which
the
is-
perfectionist side of you.
Yeah, which is really weird given the N and the S. But I don't know. It's like,
Yeah,
maybe it's not what it means.
I think I'm a bit chaotic with my organization because I think my mom has always said this about me. Like she says, I have a long back, so I'm lazy. And so I don't finish things, which makes sense. Like I don't not finish things, but I like to do it all and then I correct it. It's kind of like when you do your English essay in high school, you just brain dump and then you clean it up after. So that's me.
Yeah.
So I'll brain dump and then clean up. But Rachel's like, I need to
As
finish
I
this
go.
paragraph,
Yeah.
perfect it, and then move on to the next one.
Yeah, it was kind of like it as I go. I can see this thing is slightly off, and now I can't move past this thing. Like it needs to be clean before I go on, which does actually mean a lot of rework coming back to it. But
Yeah.
it's just something in my brain.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
although I am a J, I think you're more of a firmer J than me.
Was that something new you discovered about me? Did that surprise you?
No. I don't know why I had that inkling to begin with, to be honest. But I knew you were going to be a lot more perfectionist. Actually, no, I know you are because of all like your business case stuff and like all your work before. And even just, I think it's just casual conversation, like talking about your day. And you're like, oh, you have to be da, 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 da. And I was like, oh, she seems very organized. Whereas I'm organized, but I'm not like going to chuck a fit if my sock is over there or something. I don't know. Like I won't, it's not the end of the world.
I actually feel like in our partnership so far, like you are who I expected you to be as well. Like you have brought who you are. And yeah, I think that's been a good thing too. But a transparent look at our strengths and weaknesses. I was thinking we could do a bit of a self-evaluation on what we think we have been able to bring as strengths and maybe we can add to each other's, and self-evaluation of what we realized about ourselves on our weaknesses working together as friends.
I'll start because this is the first one I'm still struggling with. So, social media.
Let's start with a strength.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yes, the sandwich. The sandwich. Oh. Okay, strength. I think leaning on my network and talking to people. So, for example, speaking to the different suppliers at the moment, or like being customer facing. I think at the start it was me and Rach doing a lot of this customer facing stuff together, but now we've kind of divvied up the responsibility and it just means we have more time in our days to work on what we do best. For example, sales pitching. Like a lot of people ask me, oh, what's this business? And learning how to refine your business pitch and sales pitch and, you know, it's really important. So that's been a really good skill to not only have, but also develop. Okay, the sandwich. Then something I could work on is definitely, although I am a social persona, I don't like social media. But Ray just brought this to my attention early on, is like nowadays people like to put a face to the brand that you have. And so, for example, she asked me, would you entertain the idea of going on public? And I was like, oh my God, I could never. Because I like to protect that. But then that also translates into like, how do I do social media? Because I'm not social media trained either. Like, how do I create posts and all of that? I think it's another type of creative skill that I don't really do, but I wanted to take it on and try it. But I'm realizing it's a really hard job to stay constantly like, what's my next post? What is it going to look like? Is it resonating with the audience? Like, there's just so many things to think about. And now I'm like, oh, being an influencer must be so difficult.
Yeah. Does anyone want to help us with our social media? Speaking of.
Like, it's fun to do, but then you realize it actually takes up a lot of time. And something that we're trying to figure out as well is we've started our social media and such, but then our brand identity, not brand identity, but like our design identity has changed as well. So we want to be able to reflect that in our social media, but while we're still figuring that out, like I don't want to put anything further out until that's solid. So that's something we're also trying to figure out. And then I don't want to sandwich it with another strength.
That's okay. I will just add to that for you.
Okay.
One of the reasons Tash was the top of my list for wanting to work with is because of a complementing skill set. And I know she said this, Tash comes from a sales background and she's very people oriented. And even just from our personality types, like the I and the E, it's quite distinct. And so I wanted to create a business, but I was always a bit scared of the people facing aspect of it and having to talk to other people about it and be like, hey, you want to buy my thing? Even just pitching it to you in the first place, like that took a lot of building up for me because I was like, what if she says no? And so I felt like you had a lot of experience to bring that skill set in and be someone who could be the external kind of facing representative of our business and really advocate for it and be like, you know, the person talking to others. And as part of our whole experience as well, there's a lot of talking to other people, especially like the couples that we work with. We spend a lot of time with them. And to have someone who's a little bit more outgoing there and a bit more chatty, so helpful. So helpful.
It's not that Rach can't do it. She can. But I think
I prefer not to.
Yeah. So even when we're on a call together, it's a good shared balance of work and it works. And I can see it, like she's very capable, but I think she will be better using her time somewhere else as well.
Yeah, definitely like drains me a little bit more.
That's the I and the E.
Yeah. And then the other thing I would say has been such a huge strength is all these like relations that you have with like finding our supplier, finding our packaging person, like all of that. I could never have done any of that.
Really?
Yes, because I tried.
Oh, really?
Right? Like when we were looking at first, I was trying to look for printers as well. And like I messaged a bunch of people on AliExpress or like Alibaba.
Yeah.
And then they would respond back and then I'd be like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. And so Tash just managed to get that done and find such a great quality printer and visit them and actually like create something really nice out of it.
Yeah.
And same with our packaging.
Yeah.
And so those kind of, it's like operational, logistic.
Yeah.
A lot of those business things you've brought a lot of strength into.
Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah, because I think for me it's like second nature, so I wouldn't think too much about it. Like, oh, talking to a supplier, it's all right. I'll figure it out. Some things I'm like, I don't know how to measure a box, but like,
Yeah. On my side, I don't know, I guess my strengths are in like business background and like having an opinion and like kind of knowing frameworks or ways that we can move a conversation or like figure something out together.
Yeah.
And I run like a lot of just little brainstorm workshops between us two, trying to answer questions that we have. I also enjoy a lot of the, like I'm the heads down kind of person in this partnership. Like I want to get the shit done in terms of the design and like I really, really enjoy that part of it. And so I think it's been a great complementary kind of relationship where you've allowed me to do that and express myself creatively.
Yeah.
And then at the same time,
I guess you're helping me more than I'm helping you here.
No, you are helping me. What are you talking about?
Maybe I've been able to help structure or
Yeah, for sure.
help you build your experience in certain things. I
No,
don't know.
for sure. Like, I think, like I said, she has just more experience and she has a way of communicating. And like I said, I like to listen and follow. So giving me tasks to do or explaining the why gives me a clear idea of, okay, this is how I can help.
Yeah.
And some people can't, they can think of the vision, but they can't articulate it. So it's really important and it's really great that she has that strength as well.
So what do you think are the most important things when people are looking for their co-founder then? And would you recommend having a friend as a co-founder?
I would recommend having a friend as a co-founder, but there are a lot of things that you need to consider, or like you have to be okay with potentially sacrificing that friendship too if things go wrong. So you have to be okay with risk, which is opening a business anyway. Yeah. So in terms of looking at certain traits of a partner, co-founder, it is more so, first of all, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What is the gap you're filling? Why do you need a co-founder? What are they going to bring? I think that's very basic, right? But you really need to be clear on those things. And I think Rachel brought that very clearly from the beginning. And then because she was able to keep us in check, it meant that we could rely or like fall back on our strengths, continue to do that. I think as much as running a business can be stressful, there's a lot of things happening. At the end of the day, you need someone you can have fun with as well. You can have, a chat about it. Like, we don't start our business sessions like launching straight into business. We start with a matcha and we like do a life debrief, and it just takes the seriousness away at the beginning, and then we dive deep into it. That keeps it fun.
I think what you said at the beginning there was really important, where you mentioned there is risk with it, and going into it, you may have to be open to sacrificing a friendship, which I think is a really important thing to say, because I would say maybe don't start a business with one of your closest friends.
Yeah.
And I think we've gotten closer through doing this.
Yeah.
But I would say, like, before this, we weren't like closest. We were definitely friends.
Yeah.
It's just like we wouldn't hang out with each other all the time. We're different circles.
Yeah.
And so I think that worked out really well for us as well, is because we get along with each other, but it's not like we're in each other's lives and like we see each other every day and that sort of thing. And there is a big risk there when starting a business with that kind of friend.
Yeah, for sure. And we've talked about this, but I think it's worth bringing up in relation to this question is that vision. Rach had a vision. I want to support in this vision. And so you need to understand that there will always be like a switch in dynamic between who is leading and who is following. And you need to have the EQ to understand, okay, who are you in this very role? In this very situation, what are you trying to be for each other? And being able to play support is also important.
And I think that's something I will need to learn as well as we keep going.
Yeah, it's okay. I think we both keep each other in check.
Yeah.
So it's good. You need, I think, open-mindedness, someone who is willing to teach. I think that is a skill in life that's immeasurably valuable. But Rach teaches me things, those small little clips, like, those 5 minutes of recording goes a long way. And then, for example, doing this whole podcast and listening to each other's opinions, she'll learn from what I have to say as well. So I think while we're running a business, we're also teaching each other very, very important life skills. And so that patience goes a very, very long way.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the most important things to remember when you're doing a business at all is, like, not all businesses end in what you see as like financial success or whatever it is, but you always get something out of it. And I think that's a way better way to spend your time than doom scrolling.
Yeah. And I was a victim to doom scrolling. I actually deleted TikTok because I was like, why am I doing this?
You did say, Tasha's like, I have a lot of time.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Actually, I said, I actually have a lot of time. I should be putting it towards something more productive than just doom scrolling and doing these other things. Like, if I have a focused project, why not, use my time intentionally.
I found this very therapeutic today. I learned
Yeah.
more about you, actually. But let's wrap up with you want to do a quick plug for the books? If anyone is getting married soon or has a friend who's getting married soon, where can they find us?
You can find us on our website, which is sonderstories.com. And you can see all our packages that and all the inclusions with that. Or what you can always do is go to our Instagram, send us an Instagram DM, or reach out to us personally. Your Instagram handle?
Heylinni.
And mine is Natasha Tran _. I will respond to you personally. You can ask us any questions about it. We'll have more content coming up around the process and everything as well. But we'd be so honored to be an engaged supplier to ensure that, your big day becomes a preserved memory for the rest of your life. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us.
And remember to follow the pod
And
leave a rating and leave your comments. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Join us next time for the sugar, the spice, and everything that's nice in life with the Bliss Bakery. Bye.
bye.